right. Here we go. We are on chapter 7, day 3. Okay, so you want to title your notes? I would title your notes rhombus and square. Here are our goals for today. We're going to talk about the properties of rhombuses, rhombi, a rhombus, and squares. Okay. After that, we're going to apply those properties and use those properties to help us solve some problems. Okay. First shape that we're going to talk about is the rhombus. Okay, so one thing I want you to recognize about the rhombus, the first 5 properties are the same as a parallelogram. Okay, all 5 of those properties. So we're talking about opposite sides are congruent, opposite angles are congruent, diagonals bisect each other. Okay, consecutive angles are supplementary, and opposite sides are parallel. Those 5 things still apply. Okay. Write those 5 things down when you're writing down those properties. It could be helpful. I would definitely make sure whenever I mark on this picture up here, you mark as well. Okay. I would make sure you definitely have a diagram. All right. So our first unique property of a rhombus. All right. The first unique property of a rhombus that does not tie to a parallelogram is all 4 sides are congruent. So I kind of talked about this during our first day of chapter 7 when we talked about the sum of interior angles and exterior angles and the measures of 1 or 2. I made, there was that question, can you name a polygon in which all 4 sides are congruent but not all angles? This would be the rhombus, okay? All 4 sides are the same, okay, but not all 4 angles. Our next unique property of a rhombus is, I think it might be better if I just type this out because my handwriting's not very good. The diagonals are perpendicular. And our last one here, and I'm going to draw a bunch of stuff on our diagram. Our diagonals are not only perpendicular, but they bisect opposite. All right, so what does that look like? So I'm gonna start marking my diagram here. I'll draw on my diagonals. That's decent. Better, not bad. Okay. All right, so let's start marking some stuff up. All right, I know that from a parallelogram, the opposite sides are parallel. So remember to mark parallel. We use these little arrows like this. Also, from a parallelogram, I know the diagonals bisect each other, so I can say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? We know that the consecutive angles are supplementary and that the opposite angles are congruent. Well, we also know that the diagonals bisect opposite angles. So not only the opposite angle is congruent, but they're bisected. So how are we going to mark that? We're going to mark that like this. I know that this piece has to be congruent to this piece because it's a bisected angle. Well, if this angle here, this whole thing is congruent to this angle here, then I need to mark these 2 pieces the same. So all 4 of these angles, 1, 2, 3, 4, are going to be congruent. Okay? All 4 of these angles, 1, 2, 3, 4, are also congruent. Okay? They're also congruent because this whole thing is congruent to this whole thing. Lastly, the unique property, the diagonals are perpendicular. Boom. I'm going to draw 4 right angles in there. Each of these angles are right. So if we're looking at this, and I don't want you to write this part down, I'm going to use the highlighter here. If you look at a rhombus, one thing you're going to notice here is there are 4 right triangles within a rhombus. Okay, 4 right triangles within a rhombus. Okay, are those triangles congruent? Yeah, they are. How do you know? Well, it's a side, angle, side. All right, or side, side, side. Okay, they all 3 of their sides are congruent to each other. Okay, so recognize that there are 4 right triangles within each rhombus. Okay, that's going to become important when we get to the application problems of rhombus. Rhombuses, a rhombus. It's a rhombus, but there's more than one. Okay, so next, this is the square. So there are 10 properties because, and this is important to understand this, the square is the super shape, meaning that it includes all properties of a rhombus, all properties of a rectangle, and all properties of a parallelogram. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off by writing down, properties, or typing out, I'm going to type out some properties of different shapes. Okay, of a parallelogram, then I'll go and type out some properties of rectangles and rhombus. So first one, and this is also very true, opposite sides parallel. Next property of a square, and again at the end, I will mark the picture accordingly, the diagram, our opposite sides are congruent. Next one, the opposite, and oppo means opposite angles. These first five guys are coming from the parallelogram. The consecutive interior are supplementary. Well, okay, remember consecutive is another way of saying same side. So boom, boom, same side, boom, boom, these two consecutive, okay? Lastly, the diagonals each other. So those five properties are properties from the parallelogram. These next properties, I'll say two, are from the rectangle. So we have 4 right angles. You guys know that about a square, all 4 angles are right. The diagonals are congruent. That's from the rectangle. And lastly, from the rectangle, that was it. Just 2 properties from the rectangle, I apologize. The next 3 are going to come from the rhombus, rhombus. It's a rhombus. I had a student last year that called it a rhombus, Matthew Deirdrick. He was all about calling it a rhombus. Yeah, I know, I think it's kind of funny. So I call it a rhombus sometimes too. All right, these next 3 properties come from the rhombus. Like I said, all 4 sides are congruent. Diagonals are perpendicular. Lastly, diagonals bisect opposite. Okay, so now I got to mark all of these properties. All right, all of these properties. Well, first thing I'm going to do, all right, is mark or draw in my diagonals as best I can. Okay, boom, there's my diagonal. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pause this, okay, and I'm going to do this on the next slide. All right, so back to it. All right, so I'm going to try and do my best, all right, to mark this up so it doesn't become too cluttered. So the first thing I want to talk about, the first thing that you guys probably know about squares is that all the angles are right. So I'm going to draw in my boxes here. 4 right. All right, another thing we all know about squares, okay, without even having to take this class, is that all 4 sides are congruent. Okay? Those are the quote-unquote easy ones, right? All right, so now we have to recognize that these opposite sides from the parallelogram are parallel. It's best, guys, if you make your diagram pretty big like I did, because we're about to draw in a lot more here. Okay? The next thing we need to mark are the diagonals. The diagonals themselves from a rhombus are perpendicular. So yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 right triangles in here, just like in a rhombus. What else do the diagonals do? Well, from the parallelogram, they bisect each other. And from the rectangle, they're congruent. So all 4 pieces in here are going to be the same. Okay? Last thing I want you guys to mark, all right, from the rhombus, the diagonals bisect the opposite angles. So that means all of these pieces here are going to be congruent. Well, and you should recognize that since all 4 of these angles are right, that all 8 of these angles are going to be 45 degrees. Everything that I marked with this green is going to be 45 degrees. Is that always going to be true? Yes, because in a square we have 4 right angles, and within a square we have bisected angles as well. All right, so those are always going to be 45 when we draw on those right triangles. Now, the square is the super shape. All right, it is a super shape, so it wouldn't be right if I didn't draw the little S because it's a super shape. All right, for Superman. Okay, so that was long-winded. Okay, maybe pause the video here, take yourself, collect yourself a little bit. Maybe take a minute break here. All right. Here we go. All right, so now we want to apply this. So this is a rhombus, okay? Use the given information to solve each problem. We know that ST right here is 13. Well, what's SQ? Well, within a rhombus, I know that by looking at my properties here, that these 2 pieces are going to be congruent. So if this is 13, then boom, that's also 13. So SQ is 26. Okay. Find the measure, or if the measure of angle PRS is 17, so PRS is right here. I'll use red for that one. PRS is right here. Well, find the measure of angle QRS. So I want the measure of this angle here. Well, I want to look back to my diagram. This angle right there. All right. Although it's a flip picture, these 2 angles are going to be congruent because the diagonals bisect the opposite angles. So PRS is 17, then this PRQ is also 17, which makes QRS, the whole thing, 34 degrees. Okay, if I'm you, what am I writing down? I'm drawing myself a diagram. Okay, I may be marking that diagram. You can write in these like little 13, 13, 26. You know what I mean? Like label your pieces. 13, boom, I'd write that here. I can't write it here because my diagram's pretty small and it'll be kind of cluttered. All right, find the measure of angle STR. All right, well, STR is right here. Well, if I look back at my rhombus diagram, all 4 of these angles are right. So all 4 of these angles must be right. So STR must equal 90 degrees. All right, let's keep going. Last one. If SP is 4x minus 3 and PQ is 18 minus x, find x. Well, I know in a rhombus that all 4 sides are going to be congruent. So I'm going to set 4x minus 3 equal to 18 plus x. So why don't you pause the video now and solve for x. Go ahead. Get yourself some practice. I got x. I got 7. 7 was my answer for x. There's my work. I subtracted 3. Subtracted x, added 3 to get x equals 7. Some more rhombus questions. All right, here we go. This one has a labeled picture, so what I would do is I'd pause the video and draw down this diagram, okay, and then just write these questions out. Find the measure of angle BCE. All right, so BCE is right here. Well, I know that this angle here is 59. Okay, I know that all four angles in the middle are 90 degrees. To find the measure of BCE, I have to do 180 minus 59 minus 90. Why do I do that? Because, like I said before, when we were talking about a rhombus, this is a right triangle. Remember, in a triangle, all three angles must add to 180 degrees. Okay, so I do 180 minus 59 minus 90. You should get, I believe that's 30. All right, find the measure of angle BEC. Well, we know what that is. I just marked that picture. It should be 90 degrees. Next one, find the length of AC. Well, we know that from a parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other. So if this is 12, then this is also 12. Okay, so that makes AC 24 centimeters. Find the measure of ABD. Okay, ABD is right here. Well, the diagonals bisect the opposite angles. So if this angle is 59, then this angle is 59 degrees. Holy buckets. Okay, last one for a rhombus. We need to find AD. AD is right here. Right there. Well, we know that all four sides in a rhombus are congruent. So if this side is 14, then AD is also 14 centimeters. Boom. That's it for the rhombus. Let's go for the square. We got some fun stuff. Here we go. Long video today. Holy buckets. All right. Let's talk about a square. I want AEB, which is this center angle here. Well, I know that all these angles are right. So I'm going to set 3x equal to 90. Okay, and get x to be 30. Let's keep going. I know also that all four of these angles are right, and that they're all bisected. Remember, I told you this back. Let's look at my diagram here. All four angles are right, and they're all bisected, which made each one of these smaller angles 45 degrees. So if I look at this picture, okay, these two pieces are congruent. They're each 45. So I set 9x equal to 45. So x equals 5. Okay, let's keep going. All four sides of a square are congruent. We know this. It's the super shape. Holy buckets, it's fun. If AB is 2x plus 4 and CD is 3x minus 5, I can set these two equal to each other because the sides are congruent and solve. What I want you to do, go for it, solve for x. I got x to be 9 here, okay? And I want BC. Well, BC, I don't have an expression for BC, do I? But that doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter. Why? Because all four sides are congruent. So I can plug this 9 into either one of these equations, all right? Either one of these expressions. I'm going to plug into 2x plus 4. I plug 9 into 2x plus 4. 2 times 9 plus 4 times 9 is 18, plus 4 is 22. And we're still going. DAC, holy buckets. DAC is right here. Well, remember BAC was 45, so DAC is 45. So Y is equal to 45. We already did this. BAC is 45, so 3x equals 45. Wow, this is repetitive, so x is 15. Whoa, holy buckets, man. We're almost done. One last problem. AB is x squared minus 15. BC is 2x. So these two sides we know are congruent, so I can set these expressions equal. All right, I can say that x squared minus 15 equals 2x. Hope you recognize now we're going to have to factor, so I have to move everything. I have to move this 2x to the other side. to make it x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. Two numbers that are multiply to negative 15 and add to negative 2. I'm going to do this in red. I get x minus 5, x plus 3 equals 0. So x equals 5, then x equals negative 3. Well, if I plug negative 3 into BC, I'll get a negative answer. So I can toss that one out, and x is just 5. Wow. Wow. What a great video. Hey, look it, we got the super shape. It's a square. Hope you enjoyed that super long video. Alrighty, that's it. We'll see you.